It was another eventful day here at the Women's Under-19 T20 Quadrangular Series in Visakhapatnam, where an enthusiastic Sri Lankan team registered their first victory of the tournament, and India B upset India A in the second game to book their place in the final. I'm Ananya Upendran, and I'm here with a wrap of day 2 of this tournament. So the morning game saw an improved West Indies go down to Sri Lanka by 6 wickets, and while the scorecard suggests that it was somewhat of a one-sided contest, it was a game with a lot of twists and turns. Put into bat, the West Indies, like I said, showed a lot of improvement. They came out with really great intent, really positive footwork. Trisha and Holder started off the day really well. They weren't afraid to go over the top. She started the innings quite well, put the Sri Lankan seamers under pressure. But then Vihara Sewandi, the off-spinner, came in, removed Trisha and Holder, and Sri Lanka started their spin choke. Sewandi ended up with 2 wickets. She was really well supported by Dumi Vihanga, the off-spinner. There was Vidushika as well, the left-arm spinner who choked up the runs at one end. For the West Indies, Zeta James came in at number 4 and played a really enterprising knock of 22. She kind of gave the innings a bit of momentum when it seemed like they were tottering in the middle. Again, Chanel played the role of an anchor. She actually used her feet a lot better today in the game. She went down the track to the spinners, found the singles down the ground, but she wasn't able to accelerate at the back end of the innings, which meant that West Indies innings wasn't really able to get a bit of a push that they needed to get over that 100-run mark. They did finish with 95, but they would be disappointed with the way they finished that innings. In the chase, Sri Lanka lost Vishmi Gunaratne early. She was caught brilliantly at backward point by Geneva Joseph, who took an absolute blinder. She cut off a full-blooded cut shot, and Vishmi had to make her way back. And if anyone thought that would derail the Sri Lankan chase, or at least slow it down, absolutely not. Sumudu Nisansala, the wicketkeeper-batter, absolutely climbed into the West Indies bowling. Anything short or short of a length, she absolutely flayed square of the wicket on both sides. Really quick on that pull shot. She peppered the square leg boundary. Even when West Indies put in a deep square leg, she found boundaries either side of that fielder, and it was an absolutely brilliant innings. She scored 33 off 16 with 8 boundaries, and made sure Sri Lanka got so far ahead of the required rate that even though they slowed down after her dismissal, they were never that far behind. Although the West Indies skipper Ashwini Munisar came in and really slowed down the Sri Lankan run rate, she did dismiss Sumudu. She only conceded 10 runs in her 4 overs, and it kind of stalled Sri Lanka's progress a little in the middle, but Manudi and Vihara Sewandi shared an unbeaten 30-run stand to make sure that Sri Lanka got over the line. And of course, West Indies didn't really help themselves. Again, that extras column continued to rise. They bowled as many as 22 wides, and in fact the game ended with 5 wides that saw Sri Lanka register their first win. And there were celebrations, there were huge celebrations. Manudi herself kind of twirled her bat as she reached the non-strikers end when Sri Lanka won. So big win for Sri Lanka, and they've given themselves a chance to get into that final. So game 2 between India A and India B was as much a game of spot the difference as it was a game of cricket. It started with the toss, where both the captains, both with boycotts, both wearing short sleeves, both with jersey numbers, starting with the number 1, when they walked in, and people were kind of wondering which was which. Of course, we knew because they walked in from separate dressing rooms, but Nikki Prasad and Shweta Sarawat did look quite alike from a distance. I suppose it helped that Shweta was wearing a cap and Nikki wasn't, so it was easy to identify. The afternoon began with lots of cap presentations. There were a couple of debutants on both sides. There were handshakes, hugs, team talks led by players. There were team talks led by coaches. And as a small crowd gathered in the stands, everyone was wondering why India was playing India and why both Indias were wearing the same uniforms. Anyway, back to the cricket. India A won the toss and chose to bat and got off to the most disastrous start possible. Shweta Sarawat, of course, got her innings underway with an absolutely wonderful cover drive off Falak Naz. But Falak Naz came back, she straightened her lines beautifully, she pulled back her length, and then she slipped in what I think was the ball of the tournament so far. An in-swinging Yorker that cleaned up Shweta and saw the stumps flying in all directions, and that kind of set the tone for India B. Soon Shabnam, the fast bowler, playing in her home ground, remember, she chipped in with a couple of wickets, she dismissed Roshni Kiran caught behind, she castled Soumya Tiwari, who was looking for the pull as well, and India A's innings kind of was in disarray, but Shikha and Hurley Gala came together. They shared a decent 49-run partnership. Hurley did as she's always done, as she did through that Challenger Trophy, through the T20 Trophy as well. She dropped and ran to settle herself into that innings, and Shikha absolutely peppered the leg side boundary. They shared a 49-run stand that gave India A bit of hope. It resurrected the innings, and it gave the power players lower down a bit of a cushion to work with. But just when things looked like they were moving in India A's direction and India B were allowing things to drift, the spinners started the choke and Najla dismissed Shikha, and that's kind of when things started going awry again. Najla picked up 2 wickets, Parunika Sisodia, the left-arm spinner who was making her debut, picked up 2 wickets as well. Nikki Prasad dismissed Sonia Mendia before she could do any damage. And it was only thanks to some really good running by the lower order and a couple of big shots that India A found their way to 116 for 8. Now, much like India A, India B's innings also got off to the worst possible start when Brishti Maji holed out to mid-off in the very first over. But Ishwari Savkar, who remember had played the anchor's role in that first game, absolutely climbed into India A's attack. She walked down the track and carded the seamers square of the wicket on both sides, and she made sure that her team kept up with the rate. She batted with great intent, found the boundary regularly, ran well as well, and managed to make sure that India A were keeping up with the rate. After Ishwari was dismissed, India B were left needing a little over 60 runs in just under 10 overs, and that's when the hero of the previous game, G Trisha, stepped up and absolutely smashed the living daylights out of India B. She carded 8 fours and 2 massive sixes on her way to a half century. She scored an unbeaten 58 off just 39 balls, and India A romped home in just 17.4 overs. Trisha later told me that they didn't want to take it down to the last over, even though Nikki kept reminding her to be sensible. She told her, we still have time, we have enough balls to get there, but Trisha just went for the boundaries, and the way she was hitting the ball, India A had absolutely no chance. She did get dropped twice, but she absolutely smashed the cover off the ball, and both fielders were left wringing their hands. India B's win now means they've kind of sealed their place in that final on the 19th of November. So regardless of what happens in their last league game against the West Indies, they will make their way to the final on Saturday. So that's all I've got for you today. But remember, the last round of league games take place tomorrow, where India A will face Sri Lanka in what is going to be a virtual semi-final. So the winner of that game will face India B in the final. It's going to be an absolute cracking day of cricket tomorrow, so stay tuned to my social media handles for all the updates from the tournament. I'll see you next time.